So why get out there in the cold of December and January? Well, it's a time of transitions and wonder. We've got 2 meteor showers. We've got plenty of lunar encounters, potentially a comet, planets that are visible but changing, and also very, very long nights in December of 2021 and January of 2022. Welcome to Observing with Webb, where a high school astronomy teacher tells you what you're looking at, why it's so cool, and what you should be checking out later this month and next month at night. So here we are. We've got 2 months of interesting things going on. I wanted to get December and January out together because, well, December gets pretty hectic. So doing all that gets pretty crazy. So December and January all together for you. I'm going to talk about the planets and then the events and then the constellations. So let's take a look and see what goes on with the planets for these 2 months. All right, let's break this down into sunset planets and morning planets throughout the month. So let's take a look at sunset first. On December 1st, you notice that, as usual, as we've been finding these past couple months, you've got Venus, Saturn, and Jupiter up there. Now, Venus is going to be the much, much brighter one down and to the right here, and Jupiter is going to be not as bright as Venus, but still brighter than everything else, with Saturn right in between. Now, watch what happens as we go through the month. You notice that Venus is still there, but they are setting earlier and earlier each night. Oh, there we go. Now we're getting a deep dive. Right around Christmas time, you'll see Venus just about getting below the horizon. Okay, if you go a little bit earlier, you might be able to catch Venus, and in fact, on, let's see, yeah, right around that first week, you might be able to see Mercury and Venus down there. Okay, but Venus is getting real low, probably pretty hard to see. Okay, but they're all out there at sunset for a couple hours. And let's see what happens as we move on. We've got Mercury coming in like that last week of December, first week of January, if you've got binoculars or just a really good view of the horizon. And then, oh, there we go. Venus is gone. So we've had Venus as an evening star for a while now. And what's going to happen to Venus now is it's going to be too close to the sun. We're not going to be able to see it, but it will pop up in the morning. I'll talk about that soon. So for December, we've got those 3 planets, Venus, Saturn, and Jupiter, but Venus goes away. But then Mercury pops in for a little bit. Okay, 10th, 11th, and there we go. Right around mid-January, Saturn is kind of too low on the horizon during dusk to actually be able to be seen, and Saturn and Mercury both dive toward the sun from our perspective. And then we're left with Jupiter, and even Jupiter by the end of the month is getting pretty close to being below the horizon at sunset, but you still should be able to see Jupiter for a little bit. So there you go. Last chance to see Venus and Saturn in the evening sky. And Jupiter is going away as well. Now, that means that we have the mornings to take a look at. Okay, so let's go back to December 1st. Let's change direction. Let's look to the east, and let's change this to about sunrise. And here we go. On December 1st, already we've got Mars just starting to peek out, and Mars is going to be one of the main ones here in the morning. Now, Mars starts December very low in the morning on the southeastern horizon. In fact, I still have this. There we go. We'll have it just coming up right up above those mountains there. And so let's see what happens as we go through the month. Now, this is 6:18 a.m., so before sunrise, but still pretty early in the morning. Okay, Mars kind of just stays in the same spot, but it does get a little bit darker, and it really doesn't move that much, right? But what you might start seeing soon as we get through January, it starts to creep up a little. And there we go. There is Venus. So right around the last week of January, maybe mid-January, depending on what exact time it is, but you'll start seeing Venus and Mars in the morning. And by the end, January 30th, they are both about the same height. And yeah, that should make it easy to find. So by the 30th, you should be able to see Mars and Venus right next to each other. Venus being super bright, which is a guidepost. Just look to the right and you'll find Mars. And just as a look into the future, what you'll notice is, let me just rewind this a little bit. You will see Venus staying up there in the mornings until August. Venus will be a morning planet all the way through August, which is quite cool, quite amazing. And I don't know if you noticed as I was going through this, there's going to be a good time in May when Venus, Mars, and Jupiter are doing this little... Oh, and Saturn over there, too. That's going to be pretty cool in the mornings in May. But that'll be later. So, anyway, back to what we were talking about. Get out there and take a look at those planets. Don't forget that Jupiter's got those wonderful bands, and you can see the moons of Jupiter, 4 of them going around it, and Saturn's got those rings. Venus is in a very cool crescent phase right now, so if you can get a telescope on that, you can see Venus in a crescent, which is something that is not always visible. But one of the key reasons why Galileo, one of the key pieces of evidence that showed that Galileo and Copernicus and Aristarchus of Samos was correct, that the sun is in the center and the Earth goes around it and all the planets go around it, because how else could Venus go through phases? But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother video. All right. So that's it for the planets. Let's talk about some of the events for these 2 months.
And a bunch of other stuff.
All right, before we get to the meteor showers and those close encounters, let's quick talk about the moon phases. We start off December in the morning crescents. So you're looking east in the morning in the beginning of December to take a look at that crescent moon. And the new moon is marked on the 4th, which means you have the darkest skies and no moon out there. Then after that, we move on to the evening crescents. You're looking west after sunset to find those. And then you've got the first quarter moon, the right half being lit up on the 10th, and that's visible until about midnight. Then we move into the evening gibbous phases after that, where it's mostly lit and visible after sunset. Then we move to the full moon on the 18th. Then the waning gibbous phases, mostly lit, and they're rising later at night. The last quarter moon is on the 26th, and the morning crescents are after that. And the same thing happens in January, just a little bit different, where basically all the days are about a day earlier in the month. So if you're looking to observe really deep, dark stuff, you're looking for the first week or two, or maybe even the last week. But you start getting moon pollution in the middle of those 2 months. All right, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this comet first, okay? Comet Leonard, okay? So here's the thing. I can't really tell you exactly what to say, what to see, or what to do yet, because comets are notoriously finicky, okay? Sometimes they get much less bright than we thought they were going to be. Sometimes they... actually, that's really it. Sometimes they explode way out in the solar system unexpectedly. Comet Holmes was a good example of that. And yeah, they're just not really reliable, not like a solar eclipse. I can tell you down to the second what's going to happen in a solar eclipse, but I can't do that with a comet. That being said, pay attention to social media, pay attention to good news sources to see what's going on. But here's the idea. It's passing closest to us on December 12th. Okay? It might become a naked eye visible comet at some point in the month. And some of the factors that play into that are, well, how bright it is, how close to the horizon it is, what constellation it's in, what, is it dawn or dusk when you're actually looking at it. So I'm going to say keep an eye out to see when it might be naked eye or binocular or telescopic, and just get out there, pay attention to it. But Comet Leonard is coming in, and we'll see what happens from there. So then we move on to a close encounter from December 6th to the 10th, and you see it up here. You notice that Venus, Saturn, and Jupiter are all pretty much lined up, and then the moon joins the party on the 6th. Now, the nice thing about that is Venus is easy to see, so the moon should be easy to see, but make sure you have a nice clear horizon. So that's where it is on the 6th. On the next day, it's going to be below Saturn, and it's going to be 6 degrees below Saturn. And then, on the 8th, it's going to be about 8 degrees below Jupiter. And then on the 9th, it's going to be about, I think, 8 degrees to the left of Jupiter. And then on the 10th, it sort of makes this almost evenly spaced line with Jupiter and Saturn. So really cool. If you can find the moon, you can find those planets during that week. Now, that brings us to December 13th into the 14th. Note, there is a waxing gibbous moon up there. Okay. This brings us to the Geminid meteor shower. Now, this is the biggest meteor shower of the year, every year. You can get up to 150 meteors per hour, which is quite remarkable. I'm not promising that because it depends on the light pollution around you, and it depends on the light pollution of this big old moon, which is interfering a bit this year. However, if we look at the moon and let's move forward in the day, let's see what happens. It's still up. Let's keep going. 9:40 is still up. Oh, there it is. It's starting to set around 2 a.m. Technically sets around 3 a.m. Here we go. Now we've got some nice clear, dark, well, at least dark skies without the moon. When do you want to go out? You want to go out on the morning of December 14th, and because that's basically when the peak is. And what I would suggest is commit yourself to 20 minutes. Just promise yourself you're going to stay out there for 20 minutes. Warm up enough, do some squats, whatever you got to do. Wear lots of layers, but commit yourself to 20 minutes, okay? And you got to go someplace dark. Make sure you have a comfy chair or sit in a hammock, and of course, bundle up. Where do I look? Well, of course, with any meteor shower, you're actually going to look at the entire sky because they're going to be all over the sky, not just in one spot. But there is one spot in particular. There's a spot in Geminid, which is the radiant. That's the spot where all of the meteors appear to be coming from. And it's in Geminid. So you kind of want to just note where that is and think, oh, everything around that is where I'm going to see these meteors. Okay. But yeah, make sure you check the weather before you head out there. And yeah, there you go. Hopefully, if you get out in the morning, this should be pretty good. So good luck and enjoy it. Now, a week later on December 21st, we've got the winter solstice. Okay. That is the longest night and the shortest day for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere. Okay. And then on the 31st, let's go to December 31st, last day of the year. We've got a nice morning encounter. Let's fast forward a little bit between the moon, Mars, there it is, and Antares. Okay, so if you've got a nice view of the southeastern horizon, you should be able to see these three gathering there. So all you really got to do is get out, I'd say after 5:30, but before sunrise. Make sure you have a nice clear view of the southeastern horizon. And you'll see this very, very thin crescent moon, just barely lit up. Okay, and you'll see Mars down here below it, and then this star, which is Antares, down and to the right. Antares is the rival of Mars in mythology. And so this is a really good time to take a look and see what is the same and what's different about Mars and Antares. My prediction, Mars will be, well, they'll both be red, but Mars will be a darker red. I think Antares will be a little lighter. Antares will twinkle and sort of change color, sort of vibrate, I guess, in the sky. And Mars will just sort of stay there and be steady because it's a planet. It's a disk. We can see it. It's not a point source like Antares. So I don't know. We'll see. Go out there and check it out and tell me what you see. And then the next day, or really the next night, okay, let's go to PM and let's change and look to the west. There we go. Whoop. We will see on January 1st, Mercury starting to appear. Let me back up a little bit. There we go. Venus is disappearing and Mercury is coming in to take its spot. It doesn't make much of an appearance, okay, but you might be able to catch it this evening. If you want, or actually the best option again would probably be to find Venus and then go to the left of Venus and you'll find Mercury, okay? And let's see, January 3rd to the 6th. Oh, hey, guess what? We've got another set of days where the moon encounters those evening planets, okay? And what I've got is on the 3rd, you've got the moon up here below Mercury. You might be able to catch Venus off to the right. I don't know. We'll see what that looks like. But you should be able to find the moon. That will still be very thin and hard to find, but it will be there. And then you've got Saturn and Jupiter up above. Now what happens, let me make this a little bit later, is on the 4th, then the moon is right next to Saturn, about by 4 degrees. On the 5th, the moon will be below Jupiter by about 6 degrees. And then finally on the 6th, it will actually start to move away and make this sort of oddly spaced line of celestial objects. Okay. Now, also going on in this time, in fact, let's move back to January 3rd, when the moon is very low below Mercury, we have the Quadrantid meteor shower. Now, same deal as with the Geminids as far as what you want to do in general. Okay. This shower's peak is only around 4 hours. Okay. Now there's still some meteors to the, in front and behind that little area, but this is good. So here's what you want to do. You want to go out early in the morning on January 4th. Okay. And you want to, let's move that a little bit forward. There you go. Early in the morning. And you want to get out there, get in a hammock, get a nice comfy chair, all that sort of thing. Dedicate 20 minutes to it. But the Quadrantid, you might be thinking, well, wait a second. If the radiant for the Geminids is in Gemini, what constellation is the Quadrantid in? Well, the radiant for the Quadrantids is in, it's in this big old space here, this little dark area, in between, let's see, Boötes and the Big Dipper and Draco and Hercules, kind of in this no man's land there. It actually is an area that used to be known as the Quadrant, okay? Or, the Quadrans Muralis, okay? And it's an old constellation, what they call a former constellation, which is not recognized by the International Astronomical Union as one of the official 88 constellations. So it's interesting. It's kind of a relic of its time, but there it is, because it would be kind of hard to say whether it's in Bootes or Hercules or Draco or Ursa Major, but it's there. It's there. So anyway, morning of the 3rd, good luck. See if you can find something. Dedicate 20 minutes to it. And there's only one more event for January. So we're bringing this to a quick close here. But it's going to be another morning thing. We hop all the way forward to January 29th. And in the morning, you will see a nice encounter between the moon, Venus, and Mars. Okay? So you get out there on the morning of the 29th, and I think Venus will be the easiest to find. It's a super duper bright 1 point of light. And then look to the right, and you should see a very thin crescent moon. And right in between the two, a little bit closer to the moon, you'll see Mars, which will be red, but a lot dimmer. But another cool one, maybe a good one for your camera, although it might be tough to get all of them in one shot. But there you go. We've got 2 meteor showers, maybe a comet, and lots of encounters. I hope you get out there and take a look at them.
Are there patterns in our skies? Are patterns only in our eyes?
All right, let's take a quick tour of the night sky, looking almost straight up for these constellations. As always, go to skymaps.com for a really good paper sky map to print out. They do a very phenomenal job. Now, up here, let's talk about right after dinner, and let's go with December 31st. It's right in the middle of these 2 months. Now, if you look straight up, so let's go, whoop, there you go, that little red line is that zenith there. In fact, right around 6, Andromeda and the Andromeda Galaxy are right at the zenith. That's the best time to observe a galaxy like that. But you've got Pegasus, the great big square here, and you go to that top left square, you see these 2 curves coming off, which are Andromeda. And right here where the O is on Andromeda, that's where you'll be able to see a small fuzzy dot, or small fuzz, that is the Andromeda Galaxy. With a big telescope, you can see a little bit more, and with a camera, you can see, well, really good stuff. Now, that sort of empties out. It looks like a cornucopia emptying out into Perseus, and Perseus is another neat constellation up there, and I don't think these lines do it justice, but it looks like it's another type of cornucopia shape that empties out down toward the Pleiades down there. Also to note in this sky is Cassiopeia, the big W in the sky, or, well, it'll be an M, the way that you look at it then. But let's move forward to, let's see, 10 o'clock-ish, okay? Now, if you look almost straight up, you'll see this beautiful cluster of stars known as the Pleiades, which are just gorgeous to see. You can normally see 5 or 6 of them with your naked eye. Typically, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sometimes this 6th one, and sometimes this 7th one. But it's just gorgeous up there. And then if you go about a fist width to the left, you'll see Taurus the bull. And then 2 fist widths over, you'll see Orion the hunter over here. The great big bow tie in the sky. And then if you're getting up before work, let's change this. Let's move forward. There we go. 5 a.m. Let's look kind of south, but look all the way up. Leo the lion is beautiful up there. You've got the nice backward question mark on the right side and the right triangle on the left side. I've been talking with some of my classes about how some, like the Greeks, have this as the head. The question mark is the head, and the triangle is the hindquarters of the lion. Whereas other cultures, they have this as the head of the lion, and then the question mark is the tail. Just goes to show how arbitrary constellations really are. Don't forget that this can be found on Stitcher, iTunes, and Podbean to search for Observing with Webb. Don't forget to follow Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Mr. Webb PV and at PV Planetarium. Yeah, get out there, have a good time. I hope you have wonderful holidays, and do some resolutions if that works for you. And all in all, I hope you had a good 2021, and I'm hoping for even better in 2022. So with that, I'd like to wish you very clear, dark skies for the next 2 months.